Well, kind of lost a pin there, and I am as far away from the farm as I could get here, and I ain't got no pin to go through there. Redneck and a spare for parts. Well, we smoked a rock pretty bad. Couldn't see it, wasn't even going that fast, but it bent this skid plate thing up, and you can see we were grinding and we are locked up on that turtle, so that might have done some damage. That's not good. They spin, but we are locked up. Try to look on the bright side, could be worse. I only have that strip and like a little spot there left. Everything else is done. So we could be in a lot worse situation and, you know, only have a little bit done and have the whole rest of the farm to go. But we got most of it done. We got, I guess, 14 out of 15 acres done. It's gonna be all cattle hay, not really any of it's horse quality. A lot of weeds came in. I didn't do any really weed control. I put like 2 quarts of prowl on in the spring. That helped keep a lot of the foxtail at bay. But there's horse nettle, there's a lot of this tall grass, I don't know what it is. And I didn't put any nitrogen on either. So this is what did it. That tiny little thing sticking out, and it hit it just right. And yeah, I don't know what kind of damage is in there, but I don't think it's gonna be fun. I gotta take this turtle off so I can pull the skid plate off. And I'm sitting here cranking on it, and it does spin, so that actually might be a good sign. That's off. And that pulls off like that. Spin this. Spins fine. I'm gonna hop up here and fire this up and actually turn the disc bind on. I just want to listen to see if there's any like teeth grinding or anything, any gears or anything that are not working right. So all right, we're good. That's one problem down. This piece is a pretty stout piece of steel. It's got some pretty strong welds there, and this thing, it hit it just right on that rock. It cupped it. So it's supposed to be flat, but it nailed it right there, I think. Chipped the weld, and it just cupped it enough that the blades were smacking it right there, but that's all the further damage it did. Next on today's repair list, fuel filters. Now these fuel filters aren't terribly old. However, I should have replaced them in the spring when I did a fluid and filter change for the oil and stuff. Basically, these filters were changed when the engine got a bunch of engine work done to it back in beginning of 2023. Now, we only put about 100 hours a year on this tractor. However, that's still like 200 hours on these fuel filters, and I think they're supposed to be 150-hour intervals. So we're gonna change the filters. Hopefully that fixes the problem. I think that's the issue, because when I put this tractor under a load or a little bit more RPM, when it's demanding a little more fuel, that's when it sputters. But if we're idling or, you know, kind of running lower RPMs, it doesn't do it. Holy crud. There's a bunch of crud on that filter. Maybe that was just stuff sticking there. Might not be actually from the inside of the filter. I don't think that should be on the inside of your filter. Ew, there's a... And the stuff's brown. Yep, that is 100% my fault. That is big time maintenance failure on my part. Next step, we gotta bleed the system. We're gonna loosen this little nut right here. This is the bleeder screw. Come over here to our injection pump, loosen this wing nut, pull this thing off, and it basically exposes this plunger. And we just want to pump this until we pump all the air out of the system, and we start seeing fuel come out of that screw. And I'll show you in a second. This is also the same process if you run this tractor out of diesel, which I did do before. You don't have to change the filters and stuff, but put fuel in it and then loosen the bleeder screw, and you sit here and pump this until fuel comes out of that screw. Just like that. Now, that's how we know we are primed. Tighten the screw back down, clean it off, and we'll fire it up. Here goes nothing. Thing runs like a top. So this is the new seating that we planted back in April. I worked the ground up pretty nice, got a really nice seed bed. I had a guy come in and custom plant it for me, and it came up, and you can pull all this hay away and you can see like the rows, you can see them. There's the grass. There is grass growing. Now I'm kind of in a more drowned out area, so it's struggling a little bit, but it's there. And I left plenty of stubble because I want that stuff to pop. And there's places on that hillside where it gets better. But the foxtail and the panicum, the fall panicum, came in really, really heavy. And I should have, this farm is so far away that it's really hard for me to justify coming all the way over here for just this field to cut it and make a couple bales. But I should have done that about 2 months ago when the foxtail and stuff was starting to come in. Could have made some better cattle feed, and then the good grass maybe could have gotten a better stand. But I decided I was just gonna let it go until I made second cutting on the rest of the farm, and now I'm left with this mess. So you tell me, this is a worse area, it's a lot more brown, it gets a little greener over there, but you tell me, is this even worth baling for hay, or is it just better bedding? Because it don't look pretty. Well, that's the rock that stopped my cutting yesterday. All you can see is the tops of these rocks in here. That's how big they are. Well, it's a nasty kind of day to do hay stuff. This storm system kind of just popped up recently. One of those frustrating things, but it's part of haymaking and you deal with it. So we're over here at this field though, and there's buried rocks everywhere. You guys saw the ones I was pulling out yesterday. This is the one that I just pulled out now. And you can only see the top portion of them, and then there's just a boulder buried beneath the dirt. So I'm kind of spending some time going around some of these fields and just looking for some rocks to pick out. And then in about an hour from now, I've got a load of stone coming for a little project over here. So if you see in this field, we've got weeds in it, right? We've got horse nettle and a lot of broadleaf. And in order to take care of that, we got to spray it. Now, I don't have my own sprayer. I rented a sprayer from a guy last year. It's a small rig, takes a while to do stuff. So we need to get a bigger ground rig in here. Problem is, it's cut up stuff, and the access point through the driveway of this farm is too small for a sprayer. So we need easy access. There happens to be a big 20-foot gate at the one end of that field. But originally, when I picked up this farm, there was no easy way, or no way a sprayer was gonna get through these hedgerows here. So we had to upgrade these things. It's been a year-long project, but I pulled these old pipes out, put in this new pipe. It's not a new pipe, it's just a longer pipe, and laid some stone and gravel down. And as it sits, I can get my equipment through here easily now, which is a big help. However, I need like 13 feet of good solid passageway over this pipe for a ground rig sprayer to get through. You can see we got a lot of gravel in here already. I just ran out of gravel when I was doing this job over here last time. And the problem with last time is it was just so muddy. And that's because, you know, you're excavating this area out and there was just mud and slop. That was all slop. This was all slop. Now everything's drained out and has dried out. So now we can actually do the rest of the work. So we got some more gravel coming in. We're gonna place most of that gravel up here on this end, fill this section in, and just make everything a nice, good passageway for a sprayer to get through. In the meantime though, we're gonna keep trying to dig up some rocks. It's an annoying process, but it needs to be done so that I don't bust a skid shoe again. Job complete. I think that should work. Anyway, I'm heading home because I'm sick of watching my hay get rained on. Welp, we got an issue. Started heading down the road and this tractor started sputtering out on me. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. 2 tractors in 1 week coming from the same farm. This place must be cursed. Well, went down, pulled the fuel bowl and the fuel filter out of that. This thing was like full of crud, and I tried to clean this out with some diesel the best I could. Should probably get a new screen. And pulled the filter off, and the filter looks pretty gunky on the inside. So I called down to Napa. Now there's a Napa a couple miles from here, and they said that they have a Napa Gold filter for that part number in stock. And it just so happened that my dad was driving that direction, so I just gave him a call. I said, can you swing by this parts store and grab this filter and drop it off on your way back through? He said, sure. So I'm hoping that fixes the problem. It should. It fixed the issue on the 966. Hopefully it fixes it on this. Kind of noticed on the way here that it just kind of seemed like it was running a little rough, but it wasn't like audibly like skipping, like missing. When I was tedding, it was running fine, doing loader work, running fine. But as soon as I started heading down the road, hit higher RPM, like I'm trying to do 2000 RPM, and you know, I hit this incline and it's struggling for fuel and it just started sputtering. So I was like, I'm gonna whip it back around here real quick. I got half a mile down the road, so I'm like, I'm gonna whip right back to the farm. Now we wait. All right, new filter. Let's try to prime it real quick. You gotta stare through there and watch over there for fuel to come out of over there. I'm not gonna lie to you, it has taken me an hour to get this freaking thing primed. I hate this tractor so much on so many levels. So many freaking frick levels. Goodness gracious. Kept running into issues where that fuel bowl wouldn't prime, and then I finally got it primed and I thought that, okay, finally that bowl is primed, now we're sucking fuel. So I loosened that bleeder screw up there and started pumping, and it didn't pump fuel. And I did so many things. I cracked the injectors, I cracked this line right here, which feeds the lift pump. It doesn't feed the lift pump, but this one feeds the lift pump, sorry. This one sends it to the filter, so I cracked that just to see if I could bleed this part first, and it was a whole system. Finally got it bled. I don't know what I did differently. Now we're gonna see if it starts. And if it starts, hallelujah. Hopefully then we can get home. Oh, it's running. Well, I feel pretty defeated. Tractor was running fine, but it's still not running normal. I'm afraid I start heading down the road, I'm gonna run out of power, or it's gonna stop running on me on the side of the road, and I don't want that. This is my farthest farm away. It's literally in this tractor, it will take me an hour to drive home. So not really the best scenario right now. So I called AGCO dealership, unfortunately. And they're the only ones that can get me a service guy here to the field in a reasonable amount of time. I prefer to go third-party mechanics if I can, because they're definitely cheaper and sometimes do better work, but can't get a hold of any of them, so I had to call the dealership. I am so incredibly aggravated with this tractor, the amount of issues I've had with it this year. To make matters worse, the hay here is crap and it got rained on. Just as a quick recap, what has happened to this tractor this year. First, we had a big leak on it in the spring before hay season. Next, the PTO clutch went out in first cutting. third was the master cylinder on the clutch, and now it's this fuel issue. Not to mention, we've had the same fuel issue symptoms the last 2 years. So last year and the year before. The first year, it was just dirt in the lines, dirt in the fuel line, cheap fix. Last year, it was the lift pump, and now it's doing it again. I'm hoping it's just dirt in the lines again. I know we had a bad batch of fuel. Filter was bad, the 966 filter was bad, but I want to get this fixed. Last thing I want to do is have to replace dirty injectors yet. Hallelujah, we made it. We made it, guys. It works. Listen to it purr. It's working fine. Stupid tractor. Yesterday I did all I did the fuel filter, got it primed, got it running. Once I got it running, I did a run around with the tedder. It was working absolutely fine, but as soon as I finished tedding and I let it down on the throttle, it almost stalled out. Well, pretty much stalled out on me and was running horribly. Like, it wouldn't idle. And then last night, my brother, who's a better mechanic than I am, met me at the field on his way home from work. He got there, we started up, ran perfectly fine. No problem. We're like, bruh, what's going on? So anyway, went to the field here today, hopped in it, fired it up. When I started it, it started up and then it kind of sputtered a little bit like it was doing yesterday. I was like, oh boy, here we go. But hour drive home and didn't skip a beat. But you know, you don't trust a tractor when you bring all your tools. Not all your tools, but more tools than you probably need. I'm gonna fire it up and just see if it did the same thing that it did earlier. Whoops, should be in neutral. You hear that? That's what it was doing a lot yesterday, and that's what it did when I went to get it earlier, but now it runs fine. See how good this thing starts with these new fuel filters. Well, no, I didn't buy this tractor, and no, I didn't buy that rake, but boy, oh boy, is this nicer than my rake. Because this farm's so far away, I asked a buddy if I could use his tractor and rake. He lives a little closer. He said, sure thing. I'm actually kind of renting it from him. This is nicer than my tractor. And I can rake a lot more with this rake. It's nice. It's very nice. Spin around. We're gonna merge this whole thing here together. Drop her down and keep on raking. Hay isn't terrible here. This is the nicer stuff. Probably gonna feed this to my steers. However, if it looks nice enough in a bale, I might sell it. We shall see. Test our thingamabob here. Don't see why this wouldn't do good across it. It ain't that big. And we fit across nicely. All right, now we're in the thick stuff. This is what I call the foxtail field. That's literally all it was, and it looks like straw. Like, seriously, like straw. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with this hay. If there's enough green in it, I might try to feed it to the steers, which I am seeing some green. I don't really know if you can tell on camera, but there is some in the windrow, so we will see. Otherwise, I'll have to sell it as bedding or something, which I don't really want to do that, because I would rather feed this to the steers and sell the good stuff rather than feeding the good stuff and selling this as crap. So we'll see what we end up doing. The grass that we did plant, which you can see it's there. That's all the green in the field. There was some of that, or a fair amount of that, underneath all the foxtail. So I don't know if you can tell, but like that row right there and kind of down to the bottom, like there's a lot more green in there than I was expecting. So I think this stuff will make cattle feed at least good enough for me. It ain't alfalfa, that's for sure, but they will pick through it in the cold months of wintertime. We've got a lot of better stuff for them that they'll feed, you know, in the warmer months. But when it's cold and there's not much to eat, they'll pick through this and it'll be all right. Everything's baled up. These two bales here from this little patch, it's some nicer looking stuff. Baler guy said it was around 20%. Put some Silo King on it, so it'll cure for cows. And then that big field over there was like 30 something, maybe more bales just from that field. That was also around the same percentage. They look a little greener in the bale than in the row, and so I think they will feed to cattle, but it'll be pretty cheap cow or goat feed, and then this stuff here will be a little bit higher quality cow or goat feed. So overall, it's better than what I was hoping. Well, better than what I was expecting. It looked pretty abysmal there after the rain and earlier today, but after baling it and getting the numbers and kind of seeing the stuff in the bale, it's all right. It'll feed, it'll sell. There's a bump here. I don't want to drop my bales. Anyway, I'm gonna be thankful for what I got. This is the last hay of the year, and then we are starting harvest Monday, so it's a good feeling. Typical farming fashion, hoping to have a Saturday off, and we've got a lot of hay to pick up, so we're gonna get at it. I got a load home last night. Here's the hay. It's not horrendous looking, but it could be better, but I think it'll feed to a cow.